Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. And for today's flight we're going to be taking a look at another fixed wing model. And as you can see here, it's a Super Cub. So this is going to be basically one of the modified versions that is, you know, roughly based on the Piper Model 18. And this particular payware is a version that was recently released by ASDG, and the price for that is, if I can pull the window over here so you can see there, which is $32.95. Now this is, you know, clearly a little more expensive than some of the other Super Cub models. But this particular version here actually comes with the SimCoder's Reality Expansion Pack standard. So that in itself is a $20 value. So in reality, you're really only paying about, you know, $12 for the aircraft. So now I have flown this a couple times to try to get used to it. It definitely has a pretty accurate feel to it. So may not be the most perfect flight in the world, and also it will punish you for any mistakes you make. It'll foul the plugs, it'll overheat, catch fire, all those sort of, you know, fun things that you can expect in the real world. And being a helicopter guide, obviously I won't know perfectly all the startup procedures, but we're going to try to get this thing going without burning it to the ground at least. And the location we're at is Bolzano, which is LIPB. And if you remember the previous flight in the helicopter, this is basically where we left off from that flight. And if you are used to flying tail draggers, you shouldn't have any issue with this plane, generally speaking. But if you're not used to that, or you've never done that, then I suggest you possibly try maybe one of the default models, or you know, something that's a little more friendly, like say the DHE3, to get used to that, because it's definitely a completely different experience versus tricyclic undercarriage, which, you know, is generally the real standard, even though they call this conventional. So you basically have to steer with the tail wheel until you actually get up to enough speed for actually have airflow over the rudder. And once you get there, then the airplane will actually rotate forward, which raises the tail wheel off the ground. And at that point, you can actually steer with the rudder. So, you know, the concept is easy to get, you know, the grasp of. But as far as actually learning and put that into practice, you know, that takes a little bit of finesse and a little bit of, you know, hands-on learning. So. But if, you know, you're looking for a versatile, you know, tail dragger model that's going to do a lot of things, this is probably the best. I mean, You know, there's a good reason why this aircraft has been in production for, you know, over 50 years, is because it works. You know, it has good performance, both, you know, bush, flying high, hot, you name it. It can fly relatively quick enough, you know, to get you from point A to point B, but the interesting thing is how slow this aircraft can actually fly. So if you have flaps extended, and especially if you have a headwind, I mean, it's ridiculously able to stay aloft in very, very slow forward speeds. As you can see on the tack there, it has 40 is where it ends, but you know, I've actually personally been in this model before and seen that go as low as probably around 30, 32. It's still not stalled, so. But now it is a little touchy. It seems to be a very sensitive model, so if you're used to flying some of the other versions of this that are available for X-Plane, you know, maybe don't expect to have the exact same dynamics, because there will be, you know, a pretty noticeable difference in the sensitivity, which I imagine is actually more accurate. But since I've never actually flown this aircraft in the real world, I can't speak to that, so you would have to actually consult someone who has. Let's see if we can back it off and see how slow we can get here with no flaps. It's about 60 there. But also be careful if you take the throttle all the way down to the bottom of the gate, it will actually die, so it's not going to keep itself going like some of the other models. I mean, you understand what I mean. It'll, you know, sputter out. So, a couple notches of throttle you want to keep all the time, even at idle. And if you go a little lean on the mixture, then you'll need to compensate for that as well. Yeah, and as you can see, I mean, we're at around 60 knots now, and there's absolutely no turbulent, no violent shaking, no reaction, no left tendency to roll, anything you would expect when getting close to a stall. So let's see if we can go even farther. Let's see if we can go to 40 or even 35 here. I mean, probably not without flaps, but yeah. Now we're starting to get a little bit shaky. So let's give it some flaps. So that's a little over 40 there, but it is starting to definitely roll a little bit, so. But keep in mind we are heavy as well. We have a pretty good payload, so that may have something to do with it. So I think I'll do a dead stick landing for this one, just for demonstration. So that there is right at the bottom of the gate on the throttle. Yeah, now the airflow is keeping it going, but if we were actually setting stationary, it would have already sputtered out. Yeah, I don't feel like chopping the magneto, so I guess we'll just do a normal landing here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I had to actually cut the mixture to get it to die. We're still full flaps, so make a note of that as far as the performance goes. That's definitely a mitigating factor. And even though I didn't actually use it for this short flight, you do have an adjustable prop in this model, so you can actually feather that if you want. Yeah, we're going to do just a rough landing in the grass somewhere along the road here. And also a quick note you may want to make, and this is really with tail draggers in general, but especially this type of model that has such a weird balance in the ratio and the weight, is when you do land, and especially if you're going to have to be heavy on the brakes, if you have a short distance to stop, you definitely want to pull back on the stick as you put on the brakes, because this model is going to have a tendency to want to actually nose over, and once you go across that balance point, you're pretty much nose in the dirt, and you definitely don't want to end up that way. So, but anyway, that's going to be just a short review. Since this is such an interesting model and I do like it, I'll probably end up doing something a little more extensive later on, but for now that will give you a general idea of the price, you know, sort of what you get for your money, and a little bit of visuals and how it flies, how it sounds, things like that. So as always, thanks for watching. You can leave comments, questions, you know, either in the area below, or if you want to send those to me directly to the email, you can do that at msflight@gmail.com. You know, or you can look me up on Facebook. You can send a message that way. So, you know, either way, up to you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a good day.